What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the 80's Allies podcast. It's Larry. It's Jim. What are you doing?
We're back again?
We are.
Did I ever leave?
I don't know. You live here.
I changed my shirt from red to blue. That counts, right?
It's a plus. Absolutely.
Hi!
Yeah.
All right, we're back.
How you doing?
I'm good. Larry, Jim, Larry.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I must apologize. Not that they can smell it, but I smell like Ben Gay right now. I blame you for this, by the way.
Well, you're welcome.
Yeah.
We're trying to get that 80s figure.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, hurt myself in the gym today, but figuring it out. But we do have some breaking news we want to talk about.
We got breaking news.
Yes, we do. Matter of fact, we've got a couple different things to discuss. Probably the first one we want to hit is that I read online that Steven Spielberg has decided to step away from directing Indy 5. So, of course, as you know, Raiders of the Lost Ark, the Indiana Jones saga, major 80s franchise. Raiders of the Lost Ark came out in 81, followed by Temple of Doom in 84, and, of course, The Last Crusade in 89. Major, many years of time in between before they did not so well received Crystal Skull in 08, and now they're intending to do the fifth one with, of course, Harrison Ford back as Indy, and I guess somewhere along the line, Spielberg decided he doesn't want to direct anymore. He will stay on as producer, but he won't be directing.
Why do you think Crystal Skull did so bad? Considering we're talking about everything, let's go into the overarching why you think Crystal Skull did so bad.
Well, I think that it had a lot to do with the fact that it really changed the formula. You know, you didn't have the Nazis anymore. They moved it forward, and it was now the Russians. And I think the Alien edition was somewhat poorly received. When I initially saw the film, I was sort of on it until I actually heard some commentary from Spielberg. And he made it clear that because they had moved into the 50s, he felt that the film should evolve now into like the sci-fi film of the 50s, and that was the basis for why the change was there. I've said that to some people, and they were like, oh, well, now that I've heard that, that makes sense, and it's not so bad. Other people are like, yeah, well, that wasn't Indy, and they don't like it, so...
Well, they tried to shoehorn too much in, as far as I'm concerned, with his son and the woman that he ended up sleeping with at Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Marion Ravenwood, yeah.
Some people were thrown off the fact that they didn't go straight religion like they had with the other three movies. I mean, if you look at it, Temple of Doom was actually a prequel, and they decided to use voodoo. Was that voodoo? Or
no, it was
some sort of temple magic.
It was a thuggy cult, if I recall correctly.
But still, it was temple magic.
Yeah, that sort of thing.
And it was a spiritual magic.
Yeah.
And then they went Ark of the Covenant, and then they moved forward from from Old Testament to New Testament with the Holy Grail.
Yeah.
So going Alien was kind of a throw-off, even though in some cases, depending on who you ask, it was more believable, but it wasn't the Indiana Jones they wanted.
I guess so. And that's, for me, I didn't hate on Crystal Skull. It wasn't my favorite of the Indy movies, but I also didn't despise it. So,
it played to the fantastic.
Yeah, it sure did, and I think...
It was fantasy, and people get butthurt over fantasy, but we can't do much about that.
No, I mean, and, you know, some of the things about the film, it is James Mangold that's going to direct, who is known for probably Wolverine, Logan. He did those, so, you know, great director. There's huge possibility here. John Williams is returning to do the score. You have... now, I found this interesting. Jonathan Kasdan worked on the script, who is the son of Lawrence Kasdan, who of course did Raiders of the Lost Ark, and also was involved with The Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, a lot of the films from our youth, so to speak. So
he was embedded with LucasArts, because overall it is a LucasArts production that they're doing Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
So I guess he's familiar with the recipe that you need.
Well, he sort of grew up with it.
So, with the advancements in technology, are we going to see any of those advancements of technology in Indiana Jones 5?
I don't know. Anything that I could find, it was... The script is there, but they haven't let anything slip as to what the MacGuffin is or what they're going to be doing or what have you. One of the major things I took from what I did read was that Bob Iger has made it, who is of course the guy that runs the mouse. He made it very clear that the franchise will continue after this, and it will not be a reboot, which I think is basically his way of saying, when Harrison's done, that's too bad. There's going to be another Indy.
So who's going to take over as Indy?
I don't know.
Are they looking at Shia LaBeouf? Or has Shia LaBeouf been eliminated from the situation?
I don't know. And I will say that there has been... The rumor and innuendo is that the character is not in this new movie.
For good reason.
So I would... My suspicions are that if that's the case, then they're definitely not going to go in that direction.
So there's your indie news for right now.
Yeah, but you have some news as well.
I do have some news as well. Right now they're looking for a writer for the Mask movie. Now, some of you who don't understand what Mask is, Mask was a cartoon that premiered during our generation. It was a hybrid of Transformers meets G.I. Joe, because there was Mask versus Venom. Venom, of course, loosely related to Cobra in a comic book that you and I are reading that you might get to see. But it's very interesting because it was these vehicles, and then these vehicles turned into other vehicles. Like, you would have a loosely based Corvette, and then all of a sudden it could fly, or a truck that would separate into 2-3 pieces. It could become a command center. It could become an all-terrain vehicle. Basically, it was an excuse for vehicles to turn into other things to blow them up.
Well, and it was, I always liked Miles Mayhem's Switchblade, which went from the helicopter to the plane. It was a neat conversion.
Which made no sense whatsoever.
Well, hey, look, I didn't say it made sense. I just said I happen to like it. I owned that vehicle, and I believe I still have it, if I remember correctly.
But if you were a kid, it was fantastic, because another notable one was the motorcycle that became a helicopter, or the Jeep that became a boat. Mm-hmm. So you'd have multi-layered vehicles doing multi-layered things. But Venom didn't really think out their vehicle promise.
No, but I'm hopeful that the movie will be good. For those that aren't familiar with the franchise, Mobile Armored Strike Command is what Mask stands for, and of course they all wore a mask that had some special ability or what have you.
It was a helmet.
It was a helmet.
But they couldn't call it helmet because it didn't make any sense.
No, I think if it was helmet, I don't think the show would have done as well. But, that was one of those shows. It was kind of a shame. It was great for a while, and then they came back for another season, and it went completely off the rails and into a new direction, and it was sort of bad after that. And
it had one of those high squealing sidekicks, Bebop or
T-Bob.
T-Bob.
Yes, Scott Tracker and T-Bob were not very well received, even then, if I remember right.
Even though T-Bob turned into kind of a motorcycle thing, but in the end it just...
He was annoying, but you did want one. I mean, think about it. Like, you had a little robot buddy that turned into a little scooter for you, and you could putt around. That'd have been pretty cool.
That would have, but we've had to change his voice box. I would have chosen Barry White, because it was imagine T-Bob voiced as Barry White.
The only thing I'm thinking about that is that T-Bob voiced by Barry White would have been a lot more sexual than it probably should be.
Come on, get on there. Oh, baby. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Good God. I don't know if I could have. I don't know if that's necessarily.
What kind of episode are we doing right now?
Yet again, we're going back to the After Dark episode. But in any case, it's about time we pause to pay the bills. So we'll be right back. Gentlemen, looking for a classic haircut or shave in the Carlisle area? Stop into Big Daddy's Barbershop and Shave Parlor and experience that old-time feel you've been missing. Get a straight razor shave, haircut, or facial massage, or, hey, spoil yourself and get all three. We're located at 1548 Spring Road in Carlisle, right beside Brad's Pizza, and appointments are never needed. Spend some time in the true man zone and relive the shops of yesteryear amongst the modern-day hustle and bustle at Big Daddy's Barbershop. Find us on Facebook or visit our website at www.bigdaddysbarbershop.com. All right, welcome back, everybody. And, we were talking in our last podcast about Toy Fair, and we mentioned during that process that there was a toy that I was somewhat concerned about, specifically one of the Baby Yoda toys that we saw that came out, and I think you've seen this, which is the life-sized one that's about so big that coos and moves and does all the craziness and so on and so forth.
I have, and
Yeah.
it's ridiculous.
It's also, my understanding, the suggested retail price on that bugger is about $60 or so.
$60.
Yeah, yeah. But here's the thing.
Considering when you go through inflation, because this is going to lead into what we're
Yeah.
eventually going to be talking to, that's a pretty decent price, especially in today's market.
Oh, sure. And, you know, the reason that we're bringing this up is because as students of history, especially with pop culture, the thing that this brought to mind for me almost immediately when I saw the toy and I saw that they weren't releasing it right away and that it was set to come out in the fall was...
Popples!
No, not Popples. Was the Cabbage Patch craze.
Yes!
And...
Yes, that dance.
No, not the dance. The dolls.
We're not doing the dance?
No, 1983.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I got my dates confused.
Sorry. Yeah. Well, in any case,
But people love the dance.
Sure. So let's talk about this a minute. The Cabbage Patch craze, or as it was known, actually the Cabbage Patch Riots.
Yeah, it was a riot.
Back in those days, happened during the holiday season of 1983. Now, a little bit of background for those who might not be as familiar with the dolls, because they're not near as popular today as they were back in that time period. But in 1978, art student Xavier Roberts, who was 21 at the time,
Knew that he could make money off of homeless children.
Well, he utilized a technique, a quilting technique that's known as needle molding. I didn't know it had a name. I found out doing the research. And that was to create a line of dolls that he, at the time, dubbed the Little People. So they originally weren't Cabbage Patch Kids. He then develops this sales gimmick that involves the dolls are adopted, not purchased, and that instead of paying for the doll or buying the doll, of course, you're paying an adoption fee, and an adoption certificate comes with it, and all of this hoopla. There's no two dolls that are alike.
And who made this doll?
Xavier Roberts.
Right, okay. Who produced the doll?
Xavier Roberts at the time.
Right, okay. So who was the company? Was it Mattel? Was it Galoob?
It wasn't. It was Xavier Roberts.
Oh, so it was self-produced.
It was self-produced, and not only that, after it initially started to sell at craft shows and such, it eventually, Roberts acquires an old building that was a medical facility, like a doctor's office. He turns this into Babyland General Hospital. And now buying the doll becomes this immersive experience where people are going. This was in Cleveland, Georgia, by the way. It's still there, just in a different building. And what you did was you went down, and by this point, he had developed this whole story about how he stumbled upon this Cabbage Patch, and these are where the babies are born, and all this blah, 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 blah. And people would go in, and they would see the babies, and the people working there acted like doctors and so forth to give the child this doll that they were adopting and so forth. It was a whole thing, okay? So this goes on for several years. Because remember, he comes up with the thing in 78. It's not until 82 that he licensed them to Coleco for mass production. Now, here's the important thing about this.
Wait a second. I was born in 82.
Mm-hmm.
Am I a Cabbage Patch?
Possibly. Did you come from a Cabbage Patch?
No,
you don't really have a head big enough either.
I came from well, you never saw pictures of me before I was born. But, I mean,
point.
Last time I checked, I wasn't.
Okay, then you're okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So
before they become Cabbage Patch, are they Brussels sprouts?
No, they were the Little People.
They were.
That's what they called them.
And I understand that, but what if some Cabbage Patches didn't grow up?
Oh, it didn't blossom correctly?
It didn't blossom correctly.
I think you're probably putting way too much adult thought into this conversation.
Dude, it's like the coleslaw and the sauerkraut we're making out of babies.
It's people. No. So, in any case, they license it to Coleco. They retain ownership.
Oh, nice.
And here's the funny thing. They've retained it to this day.
Wow.
So the company Original Appalachian Artworks that Xavier Roberts owns, they still own the rights to Cabbage Patch Kids. They just have licensed them here and there. Now, Coleco initially puts the dolls out, and in the years following, the license would change hands a bunch of times. It currently resides with Wicked Cool Toys. And like I said, Babyland General Hospital still operates to this day, although they did move from their original location in 2010. They're still in Cleveland, Georgia.
Now, one thing that I do know about Cabbage Patch Dolls is it's kind of like towards the end of their gimmick, or the end of their run, is Cabbage Patch Dolls came out with the, I don't know if you remember this or not, the Cabbage Patch Doll that could eat.
Yes.
So what you would do is you would feed the Cabbage Patch Doll food, and then the gears in their face would go num 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 num. They had to be recalled because little girls were sleeping with their Cabbage Patch Doll in their bed, and the Cabbage Patch Doll would begin eating their hair.
Yeah, I recall that. Yeah, and that's not the only controversy. Excuse me, that Cabbage Patch has had. It was really, the company sort of started in controversy because it has been claimed that Xavier Roberts stole the idea from another artist.
Oh.
Eventually, she sued him, and they settled out of court, and all this sort of thing. So, yeah, there's been any number of things over the years with them. But
see, something like that, I can understand where he might have gotten the idea from somebody else, because, like Batman, Bob Kane is considered the creator of Batman, but if it weren't for Bill Finger, there would be no Batman.
Right. Now, here's the thing. Even despite all of that kind of drama and everything, there's really been nothing near as big for Cabbage Patch as was the riots that we were talking about.
Yes.
Now, the timeline goes that August of 82, this is when Original Appalachian Artwork signs the deal with Coleco. In February of 83, this is when Toy Fair happens, the dolls are shown, great fanfare and everything else. Companies start putting in the orders for these dolls that are coming out in the fall. In October, they start to hit the shelves, and the riots immediately start and continue through the end of the holiday season. Now, one of the more notorious riots actually happened at a Zayre's in Wilkes-Barre, PA.
Right down the road.
Yeah, right down the road from here, where there's film of a manager, and I have a clip of this, and I'm going to put it in right here. There's a clip of a manager who's actually standing up on like the sales counter, waving a bat at people that are flipping out, and I mean they're throwing the dolls at them to try and like keep them at bay. It was absolutely ridiculous. Now, the reason I bring all of this up is not so much about the Cabbage Patch thing, but here we are again. This type of thing has happened in years afterward with certain other products.
Yes,
probably Tickle Me Elmo being the most notable.
Tickle Me Elmo. It's almost as if this comes in waves and decade. It's like, what's going to be the next big thing for Christmas?
Yeah.
And it went Cabbage Patch, and then it kind of went stale for a little bit because I don't remember anything that went as huge. And then, as some of our viewers might know, Tickle Me Elmo came out,
which in that dates to '96, if I remember right.
And it was a knockout where people wanted to get a hold of Elmo because it tickled, and you could tickle it, and it in fact, people were buying them and then reselling them, doubling, tripling, and quadrupling their profits.
Which also happened in the Cabbage Patch, and has happened with any number of things from Masters of the Universe toys to what was the one the previous year before Cabbage Patch Kids? Strawberry Shortcake was big the year before. You know, there's always been certain things that are big, but never to the degree that they were practically killing each other.
When the Batman movie came out, people were all about getting Batman merchandise.
Sure. It's whatever. I believe at one point, what was the little things that was sort of talked with Furbies. Furbies was another one. There's been any number of things, Beanie Babies.
And the big thing is, which is, you know, what's going to be the next Cabbage Patch doll. Mm-hmm. And then we found out that after you wait about 10 years, it turned out to be Tickle Me Elmo.
Right.
Here we are at the precipice yet again.
And and this is where I'm getting to Baby Yoda, because here we have what I believe is the perfect storm. This character comes out. People have literally flipped out over this character. There is almost no product available, and there will continue to be almost no product available
until November.
Until they start to launch this stuff for the holiday season. And the other added part of this that I think is important, we mentioned the price earlier. The price point is not at like the $20 price point that Cabbage Patch dolls were, although realistically, if you consider for inflation, it's probably close. But the box for these things has got to be the size of a Cabbage Patch box back then, because the dolls were about the same size. So you're talking this, and the number of retail stores that exist now versus existed then is far less. Think of the names that were involved with the Cabbage Patch Riots. Zayre's gone. Kmart is virtually gone.
Toys R Us.
Toys R Us gone.
KB Toys.
KB Toys gone.
For good reason.
Hills gone. Ames gone. I could just keep going.
Woolworths.
Yeah, Woolworths gone. I could keep going on and on and on. The fact is, there just aren't as many locations anymore. And you mentioned Toys R Us. At the time this happened, Toys R Us was not the only massive toy store on the market.
You had Toy Palace.
Toy Palace, Lionel Kitty City, Children's Palace, Toy World. There were any number of them that were large stores like that. All of those are gone. And those are the only ones that had enough shelf space, and this is what I was trying to get to really dedicate to a lot of anything. If you go into a Target or a Walmart today and you look at the Star Wars section, it's a section maybe, wide, by, this to the floor.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all it is. You have to assume that that area isn't going to get much bigger even for the holiday season. And so now, where the heck are they going to put these things, which is going to limit the number that they order?
Well, first off, you're talking about who's releasing this toy.
Hasbro.
So, like Hasbro did with the pop-up store that you and I talked about.
Right.
If they do decide to do another pop-up store, that'd be a perfect place to sell specifically only
A Baby Yoda?
A Baby Yoda.
Well, it possibly.
Or, because we live in today's time period, you could order one online.
Well, then there's that. There's any number of things that Hasbro showed at Toy Fair that, and this is where I'm getting concerned, that immediately went up on Hasbro Pulse for pre-order. Guess what's not on there?
Baby Yoda.
Anything Baby Yoda related. Gone, not there. So the thing is that it's going to go out of sight, out of mind, because you've had Toy Fair. Even if they put it up there, say, in June or July, nobody's going to be thinking about Christmas at that point. If you know anything about parents, and I know you do, you're sitting there and you know that parents are like, well, I don't have this budgeted right now. I'm waiting till I get my Christmas fund or whatever it is that they're going to get in order to go and buy the kids' toys for Christmas. And by the time that comes around, the pre-sales are going to be closed because they're going to be filling orders for retail. This is, in my opinion, the perfect storm for this to repeat itself and people to murder each other over these stupid things.
So, if people are going to be murdering each other over the stupid things, and you would like to see it right here on this show, you let us know in the comments below, and we will get a cameraman out there to see if it actually happens.
Only if I can climb up really high and look down on it, because I don't want to get killed.
We're going to go all out with riot gear and
oh, okay.
And we'll be well protected.
Gotcha. So we're going to wear like body armor and.
Well, you got to remember this show is veteran owned and operated.
Absolutely. Well, that's a good point. Very, very good point. But nevertheless, folks, if you are thinking about getting this for your kid, or you know that they are going to want this or whatever, I highly advise watching the internet and watching very carefully for when pre-sales go up. When it happens, we're going to mention it here. We will report on it. And get the thing ordered. If it means you've got to budget something early or whatever, make sure that you do, because the last thing you're going to want to do is be trying to go to a store to find this thing, because I have a distinct feeling that this could be equal to, if not worse, than the Cabbage Patch thing.
Well, let's think of the places that this is going to be on sale. You got Target.
Yep.
You got Walmart.
Yep.
You got maybe a Toys R Us pop-up.
Maybe. And that's probably about it.
That's probably it. So, good hunting, and we'll see you out there.
Yeah, absolutely. But, if we're going to afford one, we got to pay the bills. We'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready for an exciting night of wrestling action for a good cause? Superstar Wrestling once again joins with the Muscular Dystrophy Association to bring you Never Quit 3, a fight to end muscular dystrophy. Saturday, April 18th, 2020 at Turf Time Athletics in Carlisle. A double main event will first see the crown jewel Tyler Ash attempt to unseat SSW heavyweight champion, the Vile Lord Sleazus. Then, the Ace of Hearts, Jason Valentine, and fellow Cross Corporation member Ian Drake Esquire will attempt to stop the reign of terror of the Society of Madnesses, Prince Shango, and the Madness of Trip in a tag team casket match where both members of the team must be stuffed in a casket to win the match. In other action, two monsters of the squared circle will battle for the SSW Two Rivers Championship as 7 feet tall, 400 pounds of bulletproof Dorian Black, along with Diamond Dex Cross in his corner, will valiantly defend against 300 plus pounds of the Intimidator Robert Wright, with Corey Cross in his corner under hardcore rules. Plus, the 40-man over-the-top rope Rudy Rumble, the tag team championships defended in a gauntlet match, and a tables, Legos, and chairs match, plus much more. Tickets are only $15, with every dime raised going to the MDA. So join us Saturday, April 18th at Turf Time Athletics, 419 East High Street in Carlisle. Doors are at 5, pre-show at 5:30, and bell time at 6. For tickets, call 717-443-2593, and we will see you at ringside. Welcome back, allies. Do you remember BOGLINS?
I was not allowed to have one.
Really? Why?
I was not allowed to have one because they looked scary, and my parents just didn't. That it was a creepy toy, and they were afraid I was going to put it on my hand and chase my little sisters with it.
I was about to ask the question if it was because you were going to menace your sisters. Now we know the truth.
Well, they menaced me. I should have gotten to menace them back. You know what I mean?
There's nothing wrong with that. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with BOGLINS, there'll be a picture here that I'm going to show. They're created by Tim Clark, Maureen Trotta, I hope I'm saying that right, and Larry Mass in 1986. Now, these folks actually, and at least I know, and I know this for sure for Tim, I'm not sure about the other two, actually worked for Jim Henson.
Nice.
That's where their background was. Tim actually worked on The Dark Crystal.
Makes a lot of sense considering if you know what a BOGLIN is.
Yeah, Fraggle Rock. In any case, they create these in 1986 through a parent company that I believe they own, if I'm correct, and that's here.
Oh, you got a BOGLIN over there, do you?
7 Towns. Well, I'll explain this in just a minute here. They come eventually. Coleco is considered for releasing them as part of the Sectars line. Here's something I didn't know till I did the research.
That's weird.
Well, it sounds weird, except that Tim was one of the designers for the Sectars line. And so the thought, for those of you familiar with that line, it was the bug line where you had the puppets that the other figures rode on, and your hand went in there. Well, I guess the thought was, well, since they were both puppets, it made sense to put the lines together. Obviously, that didn't happen, and eventually the license went to Mattel. Mattel puts them out in 87 on their own as their own product. They were a much bigger hit overseas than they were here. It didn't last very long here, although there were some relaunch attempts that were done in various forms in 91 and in 2000. But BOGLINS has really been out of the retail realm for a long time.
I would say so.
Except that here I am at a convention not that awfully long ago, and I walk by and there sits Tim Clark.
Really?
And he is still in the business of creating BOGLINS for the collector's market. And this is one of them. Now, this guy is, let me see, this is a BOGLIN imp. This is Grumph.
He looks like a Grumph.
He does look like a Grumph. And there he is, and this is the way they sell them. And as you can see, the little tag is very reminiscent of the wooden-looking boxes.
Let's bring him up because the microphone's in the way. Look at that.
Yeah, there we go. As you can see, you've got the wood tone on the tag to make it reminiscent of the boxes from the original ones. And he sells a bunch of these guys. He has a website, which is totems.com. And there are BOGLINS of various sizes and shapes there that start at $15 and go up. This guy is in that $40 range. And they go up. I think the most expensive one I saw was like $150. But
now this thing's made out of a lot of rubber.
It is definitely a latex product for sure. I would think this is latex.
Do not poke fingers through the netting. I wonder why they would. Oh my God!
Let go! Let go! Let go! Well, that wasn't good.
I hate when that happens.
I know. Well, it said not to do it, then you went and did it.
Well, of course.
Good Lord.
It's 80's logic.
Absolutely. Well, I've had this for a while. I think I'm gonna.
Oh, right here on the show,
Absolutely.
You're seeing us open a toy destroying market value.
Well, that's okay.
Just keep the wrapper. Maybe somebody will buy the wrapper.
Sure. Well, here he is.
So what we got going on here? Oh, and he talks?
Oh, yeah.
Hey, how you doing?
Yeah, I like this guy, and there he is in all his glory, and he's this one, and I don't know how well this is coming through in the camera, but he has what look like sparkles in the.
He does.
Yeah. So he has some sparkly
maybe
thing
some
going on
close-up magic here.
Yeah, absolutely. So he looks pretty cool, and his eyes look really, really neat. Like I said, this guy was about $40. If you have a chance to see Tim at a convention, by all means, go up, say hello. He's a small artist in business. Try and support him if you can. And it's a real cool thing that you can still obtain these guys, and they look great. So there you go. BOGLINS is still around. If you're a fan and it's something that you loved way back when, there you go.
Yeah. We have a history of toys fighting other toys on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. It's true.
I wonder if your Boglin could take on Hasbro Hogan.
I imagine. So hang on a second here. So here we go. So Grump, are you ready to face Hogan?
Yeah. Never mind. You have a real microphone standing in front of you. There,
right, but this is a toy, so we got to pretend.
Oh.
Are you ready to face Hogan? Yeah, man, I'm ready to face Hogan. I'm going to get him right now for sure. Forget this. Forget it.
Grump sounds very familiar.
He does. Look at him.
Oh
no.
Oh no.
Oh, no.
Oh no.
Oh, he's covering Hogan. Look out. Well.
Hogan's really,
I'm raising his.
Yeah.
Anyway, Hogan defeated again.
Poor Hasbro Hogan.
Yeah.
You may never get a victory.
Probably not.
He's balding in the back now, too.
Yeah, well.
$3.
We're beating the hair off of him.
It's not the only thing we're beating off of him. The next thing to go is his legacy.
Thank you for clarifying that. And on that note, we should probably close out. So for Larry, this is Jim. We'll see you next time, allies.